Quack, 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 quack. No!
Hell was that?
Oh, Spaz, you're back. Good. I'm so happy. Until they copyright it, we're going to keep playing it. I'm telling you.
That's right. We're going to roll with it.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Oregon channel here on the Voice of College Football. Here to talk about Oregon's first Big Ten title game. I mean, that's weird, but the first time facing Penn State in 35 years. It's kind of feels kind of weird. And it feels really weird to say 35 years. You think about that. It's a long, that's a long damn time. Spaz, how are you doing, though?
Great. Really excited. Great day today. Excited to talk to Ted about that here in a bit. And just ready for Saturday, man. It can't get here any quicker.
That is right. And that's why, without further ado, we don't want to waste this man's time. He's the busiest man, maybe one of the busiest men on YouTube. He's been busy all day. Definitely one of the sharpest commentators, sharpest thoughts, and he just tells it how it is. Everyone, please welcome in again, Big Ten Ted.
How we doing? Yeah, I'm doing good. We're, as you said, we're coming up on Big Ten championship game on Saturday. Should be a really good matchup. Number 1 Oregon, number 3 Penn State. The first time they met since the 1995 Rose Bowl. That was the year of the pick in 1994. Rich Brooks' final year as head coach of Oregon. And then you look back at Penn State that year, that's one of their best teams in the history of that program. They had two of the top 4 Heisman voting getting players. I can't say that correctly. It was hard to say it when I recorded it a few days ago. So anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. Kerry Collins was second in the Heisman, Kerry Collins, I think, was 4th, and Kajana Carter was 2nd. Carter had over 1,500 yards that season. Remember that they played 11 regular season games and 12th with a bowl game, right? So they didn't play nearly as many games as players do now. So that was a great Penn State team. Of course, Penn State took the Rose Bowl that year, but Mike Bellotti took over the next year, 1995, for Oregon. But Oregon had some more Rose Bowls certainly on the horizon, some more successful Rose Bowls certainly on the horizon after that one. So it should be. I'm excited for this matchup. I'm excited for it to all go down in Indianapolis. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, definitely going to be fun. I haven't gotten to watch a lot of Penn State this year, but what I have seen is they seem to be a lot of 2-player-ish, maybe 3-player-ish system in a way. You got the tight end. You do have the dual threat running backs and Drew Aller offensively, and you really ain't got much else, especially in the passing game. It's what I've saw is Drew Aller and the tight end. I can't even think of his name now.
Tyler Warren.
Warren. And that's about it. And I've heard people say you've got Tyler Warren running back 1, you've got Tyler Warren tight end 1, you've got Tyler Warren wide receiver 1,
quarterback 3, even,
and quarterback 3.
Yeah, that's true. So when you look at this offense, a lot goes through 44, as you mentioned. He's going to be involved. He's going to take snaps. They're going to split him out wide. He's going to be at the traditional tight end spot. He's going to be a lot of places, and I think that's what Penn State is going to look to do. And now Oregon, of course, is very well coached, very well disciplined. Tosh Lupoi, the DC, and of course Dan Lanning with that defensive background. And maybe we'll talk more about the Ducks defense as this show goes along. But so looking at Penn State offensively, they're down their best tackle, which I think is going to be a big factor in this game. Anthony Donkow, he was a redshirt freshman. They bring in Nolan Rucci, who's a former 5-star at Wisconsin. He transferred into Penn State. He's fine. I think overall the offensive line is good. Is it great? Is it elite? I wouldn't put it into that category. I think Oregon can certainly get pressure with their great D line and what Mateo is doing, what Jordan Birch is doing, what Tatum Tubioti is doing, and then those guys in the middle certainly as well. But you kind of mentioned some what they have or maybe what they don't have on the perimeter at wide receiver. Like this has been a problem for Penn State the last couple of years. Look at that game against Ohio State. They just could not separate from Denzel Burke and Davison Igbinosun, the two corners for the Buckeyes over there. Like you have Amari Evans. He can get deep at some point. Harrison Wallace is another really good receiver. Not sure if he's going to play though, right? There's some injury issues there. Julian Fleming was brought in from Ohio State. He was a 5-star type of guy, had a really good, I should say a good year back in 2022 before Kyle McCord. That was the CJ Stroud year, last CJ Stroud year, I believe there. But he's only got I think 12 or 14 catches this year, right? So this is just a team that's not going to beat you with great talent on the outside. Right. So they've beaten you with Tyler Warren. I mean, he's almost got 1,000 yards receiving as a tight end. Right. So he's in the top 5 in receiving and yards in the Big Ten this season as a tight end right now. So they're going to beat you with that. They're going to beat you with funky formations. They're going to split offensive tackles out wide, and they're going to do a lot of different things that the Ducks probably haven't seen before, right? So that's I think where Andy wants to get Oregon a little bit off balance. Certainly, I think Penn State's going to have to run the ball. They're second in the Big Ten in rushing right now. They do it with a lot of guys. We talked about Warren and what he can do. Singleton. We talk about Allen, right? Those two running backs there as well. Bo Pribula is a backup quarterback that will come into the game. He will take snaps. Drew Aller will be split out wide. Like I said, there's going to be some formations that Oregon fans have not seen before. That every team that Penn State has played, it's been pretty different. It's been pretty exotic. We'll see how, and we've seen Oregon kind of do that on extra points, certainly as well, and kind of get people off balance as well. But yeah, it should be. I'm very intrigued about this matchup because we've seen when Drew Aller and Penn State in the last 2 years, when they take on a really good defense, specifically a really good defensive line, and Aller gets off schedule and he gets off rhythm, they turn into almost an average type of offense. So I think that's what Oregon needs to do. They need to pin the rears back. Mateo needs to get home. Jordan Birch needs to get home. Bryce Betcher on some interior blitzes needs to get home. And I think that they have the personnel to do it. So yeah, we'll see how Penn State goes, but that's kind of the offensive outlook for the Nittany Lions.
And yeah, without we're going to jump into it quite that quickly there. The last time we talked, I don't remember what we exactly discussed or how grateful or how much we projected. Are you kind of surprised in a way that Oregon is 12-0 through Big Ten play?
No, not at all. I predicted them to go to 11-1 at the beginning of the year. I thought that they would lose to Ohio State in the regular season and then beat them in the rematch. That's kind of what I predicted at the beginning of the year. I mean, you looked at a lot of people. There were some people that couldn't see what the Ducks had. I think, and that was. But when I looked at them, and I'm like, I mean, it was all like Mateo taking the step that he did, right? We weren't sure how he was going to develop, but now that he's developed into that kind of player, you can see, I thought this defensive line would be good. I said in the beginning of the season, hey, I think they're top 5. I think the overall defense is top 5. I think they've exceeded my expectations on the defensive side of the ball. But when I look at offense, I mean, you had Gabriel, you had Tez coming back, Evan Stewart coming in, you had Trayshawn Holt. I mean, you had a plethora of weapons. You had a great offensive line coming back. Like you had one of the most complete teams in America, and you had a coach that knows exactly what to do from a roster management standpoint. So yeah, it's not surprising to me that they went 12-0. You look outside of the Ohio State game, Michigan certainly wasn't what some people were expecting them to be. They kind of dropped down to a 500 club. So that makes it even more realistic that they did what they did. this season. So yeah, or it's not necessarily surprising. A little bit surprising that how close the Boise State game was early, and how maybe they got off to a little bit of a slow start. I thought that was the surprising part, but once they figured it out, once they moved Iapani Lalaolu Pancho over to center, that seemed to really, and then I think Nishad Strother got healthy and they put him at guard. Everything ever since that really happened, and the offense, you got the right O-line combination, then the Ducks have certainly have taken off. But I think the thing that has exceeded even my expectations, the high expectations that I had, is this D-line. I knew it would be good, but I think they're the best in the conference. That is a nasty group up there, and they got a lot of depth because those edge guys, Birch and Mateo on either side, are kind of right now those main guys. You can rotate them to Ioti. I think he's really fun to watch and provides some depth over there as well. Amari Washington rotates in, a younger defensive tackle. And then what about, I'll say this, maybe I should even correct myself, linebacker, because I think we knew, hey, there was going to be an experienced secondary. D-line should be pretty good, but linebacker was kind of that, we'll see how they do in the middle. But, especially when Bassa went out with an injury early, Justin Jacobs went out with an injury early, and then Bryce Betcher just steps up into an absolute Oregon legend, right? The Eugene native, walk-on for baseball, walk-on for football, and look what he's done in both of those sports. It's been amazing to see what he's been able to do. And I think then Devin Jackson steps up, right? And then when those guys step up and the other guys get healthy, all of a sudden you have an extremely deep linebacker room. Like linebacker and defensive line, the front seven has taken big steps up for the Ducks, and that defense is the reason why I think that this team probably is the national championship favorite right now. We know about the offense, right? That's always been an Oregon thing, offense, right?
Yeah, and then with the two guys we didn't mention in Derek Harmon and
Jabari Caldwell.
Jabari Caldwell on the edge. I mean, just
it's with those two guys up front. They are just those run stuffers, and they can generate pressure from the interior as well. Usually it comes up to your edge guys to be able to do that, but they've been able. I remember where Derek Harmon just stripped the ball and took it away in the Ohio State game. I think they generated a turnover, if I'm not mistaken, in the Washington game. I can't remember if it was Caldwell or Harmon.
That was I think that was Betcher blitzing. Actually, that hit him in the backfield. But yeah, the point is they create turnovers immediately in the backfield sometimes. I think that was Betcher, but
either way, like they provide a lot of pressure right now, and it's going to be tough. You look at maybe some of these matchups we've seen. What Penn State could look like on the O-line. We saw what Ohio State looked like, because that's a potential matchup in the quarterfinals, right? Because you got Ohio State and Tennessee is that 8-9 game as it stands right now. You look at that O-line for Ohio State that's lost two starters. I know Ohio State seems like a daunting matchup. I know that obviously the loss to Michigan maybe brings them down a peg, but there's still a team that could bounce back and still play really good. But man, if their offensive line, they could not deal with Michigan's front. Of course, Michigan has two really good tackles on the defensive line, but man, Oregon can do it. Can do it in all fronts. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch, to see just how good, because they are playing especially defense. They are playing their best ball right now. If Marcus Harper gets healthy on the O-line, I mean, this is a flat out machine. It could be fun to see just how high they can fly this year.
Yeah, Captain Hill brings up a good point too. Seeing this team in an indoor stadium, we haven't played indoors all year. Every game we've had has been outdoors, home or away. So I agree with him. I think indoors this offense does go up another notch.
Yeah. I think the being on the fast track and all that at an indoor type of stadium, I think it's certainly going to help them. And I think it helps Oregon in this matchup, because I think Oregon wants to be they want to be that fast speed team. Heck, this is the home of Tracktown USA. They want to make this a track meet, I think, because I think if they get up and down the field, they create explosive plays, which I think they can do against Penn State secondary. Now, Penn State does have two all Big Ten performers back there in the secondary, but overall, I think Oregon can just put out all of their weapons and say, you're not going to defend all of our guys. You might defend one. You might defend another, but I think Penn State wants to.
There's these two over here, yeah.
I think Penn State wants to make this game a little bit more physical because they know Penn State is not built to go tick for tack with a team like the Oregon Ducks. Like Penn State can't go back and forth. Like if this game,
they need to Wisconsin it.
Yeah, you can't do 42-38 a Penn State win against Oregon. That's just not going to be a result. They want to be methodical. They want to keep Oregon's offense on the sideline. They want to be able to run the ball, get Tyler Warren, and we all mentioned that all stuff before. That's the way Penn State wants to play. Limit possessions, take advantage of the possessions that they have, and then get yourself in a 20-21 game in the fourth quarter and then see if you can just make a couple of more plays, right? I'm not saying it's going to be completely the Michigan versus Ohio State formula, but I said in my Michigan-Ohio State preview, I'm like, Ohio State needs to live on the perimeter. They need to get up and down because Michigan, and this is even an extreme example because Michigan has no offense, right? I think we found that out through this whole season and certainly last week. But Michigan they played this game in a box. And I feel like to a certain extent, Penn State certainly wants to do that. And then, they certainly want to create some other plays down the field as well. But yeah, when I see Oregon's secondary, and I see them matched up against Penn State's wide receivers, I think that's another reason that Penn State wants to run the ball because, man, you throw the ball and you're not going to have a lot of success with Jabbar Muhammad on one side, Nico Reed on the other side, Dante Manning and some of these safeties as well. I just don't think these Penn State guys are going to be able to separate. If I'm Dan Lanning, if I'm Tosh Lapoy, I'm bringing extra personnel into the box. I'm playing man coverage over the top because if I play zone, I've seen Penn State against zone this year, and Drew Aller has been a really good job, and these receivers can find the soft spot in the zone, and that kind of helps with maybe their lack of ability to separate. When other teams play zone, it kind of helps them out a little bit more. So we'll see exactly how the game plan goes, but I could see that's kind of how the Oregon defensive staff kind of approaches this one.
Well, and that's fair too, because like you just said, you talked about it just earlier, and I've been looking at them more because the same thing. I haven't got to watch a ton of Penn State games. I've watched it, but everyone knows Tyler Warren, 81 receptions a year. Harrison, as you said, Wallace may not even play. He's the next best actual receiver, and he only has 35 receptions.
Right.
After that, it's Evans with 18.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Singleton has 33, but for even less yardage. So he's much more like very controlled, but he's, the running back. So it's more out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Kind of angle routes, maybe, or just check downs in emergency situations. I mean, when you literally could lose your little best wide receiver when he's under half of what your tight end is getting, that's not good.
Look back to that Ohio State game. You mentioned the checkdowns with Nick Singleton. I remember that Ohio State game very vividly. They couldn't get open against Ohio State. It was first read, second read, third read. It's all covered, and then it was Drew Aller getting it out in the flat to Nick Singleton. Credit to Nick. He was able to make one guy miss on occasion, and he was able to get some decent yardage. I think I'd have to look back at the box score. It was something like 6 catches for like 60 or 70 yards. You might, he's like, well, that sounds like he's a wide receiver, but you kind of look at the game, and it was just they had it covered down the field. So we'll see. Maybe Penn State is going to prove me wrong, and maybe they can come out and have a great offensive performance. But man, from what I've seen the last 2 years, from what I've seen this season, and from what I see for the Ducks right now and how high of a level their defense is playing at, it's hard for me to see it. It's hard for me to see it happening right now.
You are pretty almost spot on. Nicholas Singleton, 6 receptions, 54 yards, 9.
Oh, really? Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, it was just, that's how that whole game went down. They were just checking it down to Singleton is because there's just nothing open down the field. Nothing. And then when that happens, right, the pressure is able to get there. Aller has been a little bit more mobile this year as opposed to last year, but he doesn't have the scoot that Dylan Gabriel does, right? Where we've seen it this year where the pressure kind of comes in and he's able to slither out of there, whether he runs or whether he finds an opening to throw. We just haven't seen it. So yeah, that's I think what we've seen with Aller in this offense. So if Oregon can shrink the pocket, I think they'll have a really good chance to win.
There's a question here real quickly here. I did want to do is Warren comparable to Loveland at Michigan? I would say pretty much. I mean, like without Loveland, Michigan can't pass the ball at all.
That was okay. So before I answer the question, what makes the Michigan win over Ohio State even more mind-boggling? They were without Colston Loveland, right? He was like their only target, right? Their wide receivers were not very good this season. Like he was their guy throwing the ball. And then they didn't have Will Johnson, who's probably going to be at least a first or second round draft pick at the corner. He's going to be a first round draft pick. Let me correct myself. He's going to be a first round draft pick from the corner. He might be one of the best. He might be the best corner when healthy in the country. Without those two guys, they still found a way to win. That's insane. Anyway, these were the top two tight ends in the Big Ten coming into the season. This is interesting because Loveland, because we see Tyler Warren we see him take snaps and we see him do stuff in the run game and everything. I'd probably say Warren is the 1A to Loveland's 1B. I think both of them are going to be really good NFL players. I think they're going to have both very long 10-year careers if they stay healthy, certainly in the NFL. I'd probably say Loveland has a little bit more scoot to him. I think Tyler Warren is a little bit bigger in stature, and I think he's probably going to be, even though Loveland's going to be a really good red zone target, I think Warren and his size make him maybe a little bit of a better red zone target right now. But those are two of the best in the country, right? When you stack up tight ends, certainly this year. So yeah, I'd probably say Warren's 1A to 1B, but I would say they are comparable, certainly.
So what do you take of this? Not to get into like the specifics of the game, but if you look at, because you're the Big Ten expert, obviously we're the new guys on the block, just strolling in here, doing whatever Dan Lanning wants to do. Apparently, what do you make of James Franklin in these big games? Because this is his first Big Ten title game since 2016, right?
16, yep,
2016, yes. So, what is it with James Franklin or Penn State in general with these big games? Because he kind of has like the Ryan Day complex sometimes, it seems, or you can almost compare them when it comes to like the big games.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, he hasn't beaten Ohio State since that 2016 season. I think a lot of it has to do with what we were talking about before, is just that they don't have that talent out on the perimeter. Because if they have better talent to be able to get open, especially in this last game, like I think we're talking about a little bit of a different story. But here, why can't he win? I mean, that's a great question, because it seems like he's got defenses. I mean, he's got a solid quarterback with Aller. He's got a really good run game. Sometimes I think they just like I look at this last game when they played Ohio State in early November. Tyler Warren goes off for 30 yards and he gets first and goal, right? And the 3-yard line, 4-yard line, and they run the same play like 2 times in a row. They get to third down, they throw an incompletion, and they don't give it to Warren. They don't put Bo Pabula in. Like, it was just a mind-boggling situation. Sometimes these games, like the big games for James Franklin, the Michigan game for Ryan Day, it can get in your head a little bit. It can get in your head, certainly, a little bit. But I think it just has to do with where Penn State is talent-wise. I think that what they have on their team is like a top 10 type of level. I'm just not sure if it's that top 5 or national championship type of level. They're not as stacked, I think, in a lot of different positions, like an Oregon team, like an Ohio State team, like Michigan teams, like we've seen the last couple of years before this season. I just don't think that they have that elite speed, that playmaking ability that Ohio State does, and some of these other teams certainly have had. So I think that's been a big difference as well. But then Michigan lines up and they run it 20 some odd times. They don't throw the ball in the fourth quarter last year against Penn State as well. So you take a look at the interior and not being able to stop the run. Like there's really good parts to Penn State's team, but they have really kind of run into the ceiling, as you said.
Yeah. So before we get into the next level, I wanted to ask you, since you're the Big Ten entrepreneur, I will say, how okay if Ryan Day goes in and loses a first or second round playoff game, does he get let go?
A first or second. So, okay. Boy, that's a great question. I don't, here's what I will say. And I said this on another program earlier this week. I don't think that Ohio State's athletic, they got a new AD, Ross Bjork, who came over from Texas A&M, I think last week after Gene Smith retired over there. But I don't think they're going to come out and say, hey, we fired Ryan Day. I think it's going to be something where Ryan Day resigns or they mutually agree to part ways or something like that. But if he loses in the first, let's just take it one thing at a time. If he loses in the first round, let's say it is against Tennessee, and let's say it's at home, because right now that's kind of the way the seeding works out. It's in Columbus. So they finished 10-3. They spent $20 million on this roster. It's supposed to be the most stacked roster. I think there's a chance. But here's the backside of this for Ohio State that everybody needs to think about. If you fire Ryan Day, can you find someone that's better? Like that's a high bar for everything that's said about Ryan. He's been a really good recruiter. He's still in the top 5. He's still bringing in great talent. He's still winning a lot of games, but he's not winning the games that Ohio State fans really want to win right now. So I think if I'm Ohio State, I'm starting to look around right now, and if I can find somebody that's better, I mean, I know Ohio State's got a lot of money right now, but so I'm starting to look around. But there, to be honest with you, I know
is there anybody better out there? Exactly.
Ryan Day's a great coach. That's what people need to understand. Like, I know, hey, you haven't been able to win one game over these past whatever years, and I know he comes up short in these big games, certainly. But man, it's just, you got to be careful. I've seen certain things happen with other teams where they think they can do better. They fire a coach with a winning record, and then it kind of spirals downhill. I know there were other issues.
Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska. I was just about to mention that. Bo Pelini was winning 9 to 10 games a year. And then, there were other things and stuff that he said on tape about the fans and all other stuff. But still, I mean, you fire him. I mean, but that's not the first time. Nebraska fired Frank Solich after Tom Osborne retired, and he was winning 8 or 9 games a year, but that just wasn't good enough for them. It's just, so some of these schools with that complex that say, hey, we want to be that much better, or we deserve to be that much better. We want to win this game. We want to win that game. Just be careful what you wish for. That's why I hope that they're really navigating the world right now and seeing, hey, who could come here? How much money could we spend on this guy or that guy? And would that make our program better? If they look around for these next couple of weeks and they don't find a guy, even if they lose, the fans are not going to be like, the fans want him gone. Like that's the truth.
A lot do, yes.
They do. And if he loses in the first round, it is going to be nuclear, let me tell you. Nuclear. So if he wins a game and they make it to the quarterfinals, I think if he loses in the quarterfinals, I still think that there's a lot of talk. I think the talk dials down, because in order to get past the quarterfinals, in theory, they would have to get past Oregon. Right? If they get to the semifinals, okay, maybe it died. Hey, it got to the Final Four. But man, I would feel comfortable if he gets to the national championship game. If he gets there, I think he's good. Anything before that, I still think there's a little bit of a question. It's crazy to me that you would fire your coach after getting to the semifinals, after getting to the Final Four, but this is not the normal program we're talking about. This is Ohio State we're talking about. So.
Well, I have heard that Urban Meyer's available at some random Ohio bar. Apparently, I don't know what he's doing down there, but apparently he's available. That guy. But also to Ohio State fans, grief in a way. He's not just 0-4 now against Michigan. the last 4 years. He's also now 0-2 to Oregon, including a Cristobal-led team with Anthony Brown at quarterback.
Anthony Brown, baby. Anthony Brown. There we go.
Love you, Anthony, but yeah, not the greatest quarterback in the world.
Yeah, you go look. Oregon, it's funny. I kind of looked this up a little bit a few weeks ago. Oregon has had, pretty consistent quarterbacks, through the years. Of course, Clemens was quarterback for a couple of years. Harrington, of course, took over. Let's see, after I think that Jason Fife for a year, I think, was in there somewhere. And then they eventually graduated up, and they had Darren Thomas. I think Darren Thomas was a couple of years. Vernon Adams was there. Of course, Marcus Mariota for a handful of years. Justin Herbert for a handful of years. So they've had some good quarterbacks and consistency. But every now and then you get that Anthony Brown kind of mashed in there. That was 2021. So that would have been between Justin Herbert and Bo Nix, if my memory serves me correct.
That was between Mariota and Herbert, because as Spaz's favorite quarterback who never worked out was Dakota Prukop.
Yes,
he was the favorite. And
I remember playing NCAA football 14, and I played with Oregon all the time because their offense was the funnest to use. I just half the time Mariota would get injured, so I knew that Jeff Locke was the backup quarterback. Yeah. That's the reason why I know that Jeff Locke was the backup quarterback in 2013.
And then he got hurt and went to Dakota Prukop.
Yeah, don't run Mariota in those games. Do not.
No,
I know he gets hurt all the time.
Now, one other question, Ted, was since we're on the coaching carousel thing, there was a rumor that came out through one of the on-threes or whatnot today that a certain University of Spoiled Children's coach was being sought after by UCF of the Big 12.
Oh, God.
So do you know or hear of any reality to that, or do you think that's just somebody blowing smoke screen?
Okay, so it could be a couple of things. It could be Urban Meyer and maybe with his agent as well, trying to shop around and trying to get out of USC somehow. And maybe this is just the first stop, right? And here's the thing: if somebody wants Lincoln Riley, you got to pay tens of millions of dollars to buy out that contract. And then on top of that, what is he making now? He's making $10 million a year. Mm-hmm. So on top of buying out that contract, you got to pay him at least the same salary as he's getting right now. Are you going to make Lincoln Riley right now on a new contract? Are you going to make him one of the highest paid coaches in college football right now? I'm not doing that. I mean, maybe there's some sort of restructuring that UCF could do to make it financially advantageous for them. But you get out of the money portion of it. But that is a big deal. I know people kind of glance over that. But like him at UCF, it would kind of be the first thing that popped into my mind was, well, this would be the second time he'd be kind of running away, so to speak, right? That people have said, right? When Oklahoma was going to the SEC, he went to the Pac-12, right? And that's not saying that's my narrative. That's kind of other people's narrative. Jumping to USC from Oklahoma, that's of course a really good job. But then, now that USC's in the Big 10 and then going to the Big 12, you could see how it could kind of follow a trend and maybe follow a look of what has been happening with Lincoln. But here's the thing: if he went down to UCF, I think he could have a lot of success, and I think they could be a really good Big 12 program. But I just think the money is too tough. It's too tough for it's too tough for USC to fire him, right? I think that's the first thing, right? That's the most important thing. Because if there wasn't money, like if he had like a $20 million buyout or a $30 million buyout, I think he'd be gone right now. I think it's the money that's saving him. I really do. Like if he had a 7-5 season followed by a 6-6 season at USC should garner you a firing. It should. But I think the money is just too much. So yeah, it could be maybe him and his agent kind of working things to maybe get out of there somehow, or it could just be, UCF just swinging for the fences. Right. So I think those are the likelihoods. that it is what it is right now. But yeah, it's an interesting spot for USC because it might be a couple of years before they can realistically afford to fire him. So
I think you're 100% correct because it's like 80 to 90. I don't think anyone has the exact numbers to buy him out.
It's Jimbo Fisher range right now.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
And
I didn't realize it was that high.
UCF cannot afford that and then pay him $10 to $11 million a year. Also, there's no way. So they would have to restructure some sort of thing. But you think USC would take a loss on the money that's owed? No, USC is not. They want the money, of course. If someone's going to steal him, but
I know but here's the thing for USC, that would be their perfect situation, man. I think they know that Lincoln Riley, could it work? I mean, I guess it could work, right? It's signing day. They signed a great 5-star quarterback in Husan Longstreet, right? And we know what Lincoln Riley can do when he's got a really talented quarterback. So maybe it can work. But man, the more time I see about Lincoln, and now that he's in the Big Ten, and USC is just, you look at their recruiting over the course of time with him, and they're fine. They're in like the top 15. I think that first class that he had might have been top 10 actually. But last year's I think was in the 20s. This year was a 14th when I checked it earlier today. It's just, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to imagine this being successful. It's hard for me to imagine USC eventually getting to a point where they're rolling off 10-win seasons year after year with Lincoln Riley as the head coach. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen, and maybe I'm wrong. And I think USC took big steps up on their defense this year. So that was an improvement. But man, I don't know. I don't know.
Their linebackers coach left yesterday as well.
Matt Entz, which, that's interesting because when I worked in Fargo, Matt Entz, of course, was an assistant when Chris Kleiman was a head coach at North Dakota State. It's interesting. So he went to USC for a year, and then he became the head coach at Fresno State. But Chris Kleiman was the head coach when I was there at NDSU, and he jumped to Kansas State. So I feel like Matt Entz could have stayed there and still jumped to Fresno State. I don't know. It's just something that popped into my head today. But of course that year of experience, being at a Big Ten program and playing at that level was something I did not expect Matt Entz to stay there for a long time. But yeah, so I guess good for USC for taking advantage of his knowledge when he did. But Matt Entz has a bright future in this industry, and he's a really good guy. So I'm glad he got that opportunity.
North Dakota State, one great program, of course, and lots of good experience and coaching staff, and they move on, usually do good things. But maybe in USC's case, what they could do, somehow restructure that, take a loss, and then get a cheap discount Clay Helton back.
Oh,
he won him a Rose Bowl.
Looking for a gig, I hear.
Here's the interesting thing about restructuring. Jim Harbaugh's contract got restructured. I think he took a little bit of a pay cut after that 2020 season. Scott Frost, before he got fired, kind of got that as well. I wonder how much longer it's going to take before those discussions really start to happen. Remember, there's a new AD, Jen Cohen, who came from Washington, who did not hire Lincoln Riley. Remember, it was Mike Bone that hired Lincoln Riley over there as well. So I don't know. It's the USC's stuck in a tough spot right now. They got to try to find a way to make this they got to find a way to figure this thing out, because it could be a few years. It could really be a few years before this thing gets going. I mean, the NFL has been thrown out there as well, but I think Lincoln Riley, after these last 2 years, I think Lincoln Riley's name is in a spot where it's not as attractive as it used to be, right? So I think, maybe the possibility of going to the NFL or something like that has certainly diminished from where it was before. So that's what makes this such a tough spot. Certainly for the Trojans, but we'll see if they can dig themselves out of it.
Well, you're in a conundrum too. It's like, well, okay, say an NFL team comes calling. Is he willing to give up $80-90 million of guaranteed pay or buyout money, or is USC willing to release him from the contract somehow?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And no NFL team is going to pay $80-90 million to get.
No, I don't think he would leave. I know the NFL is an offensive league, and of course, that could really fit into what he does, but I him being a head coach. But I will say this: remember when Cliff Kingsbury got hired as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and he was coaching Texas Tech to like 7-win seasons.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. So the NFL has had some odd hires at times.
Well, he did get hired as the OC for USC, and before he ever actually stepped foot in the office, the Arizona Cardinals grabbed him from USC originally or whatever. So that might have been a part of the downfall. I don't know, but
did he get fired? No.
No.
Fired
from Arizona, yes. No, yeah, from Texas Tech, yeah, he got fired.
Yeah.
And then how long was it until he became the head coach of the Cardinals after that?
6 months, 7 months.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. So he got fired at Texas Tech,
then hired by USC to be the
but he
OC.
never coached a game at USC.
Nope.
Exactly. And then he got picked up as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
I forgot about that time. I forgot about the timeline, I guess.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's called failing upwards, basically.
Fired at Texas Tech and hired at the Cardinals. So maybe let's not keep Lincoln Riley out of this yet. Let's not keep him out of this yet.
Let's not be delusional here.
Next head coach of the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams. I'm just saying, you heard it here first. I'm just saying.
Oh my!
Wouldn't that be something though?
Right.
Now the wheels are turning.
These college teams have got to stop doing this 10-year hiring thing for a first.
I know these long. No,
it's so ridiculous.
The thing about Riley's contract, also, you can talk about the money, but they gave him like 2 or 3 houses. They gave him like a private jet for recruiting. Like they gave him a lot of stuff.
Yep,
a lot of stuff. He is, and they're building a new football facility there where his fingerprints are all over. Like he's a lot over a lot of that football program right now. So man, they hitched their wagon to him, and now maybe the wagon's kind of dragging him down,
falling apart. Yeah.
All right, Spaz. Before we you and I could bash on USC for.
I wanted to ask him one.
I don't mind USC. They're not my favorite program in the world, but they're not my least favorite program. Certainly in the world. I mean, if I had a choice,
wanted to ask you one recruiting question before you had.
Let's do it.
Naheem Offord, how did that happen this morning?
Oh yeah, that's quite the flip. He was committed to Ohio. I mean, it was him and Devin Sanchez, those 2 corners at Ohio State. For a long time, but this is the Dan Lanning special. We saw it last year. We saw all kinds of flips last year, but the Dan Lanning and this defensive staff had a lot of eyes on the defense this year, specifically the secondary. They had a 5-star in Trey McNutt that was committed. They had a couple of 4-star corners, top 100 guys that were committed, and they just here's the thing with Oregon: when they see something they want, they get it. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I mean, it's not much more than that, which is insane because they took the kid from Ohio State, right? That's certainly a high level program. A kid that was committed there, certainly for a while. But man, it's just they are just on an absolute.
It was so weird because at 6:00, Steve Wilfong goes on and delivers a Fong bomb and says at 6 a.m. my time, says it's a done deal. Offord is flipping to Auburn. He gave it a Fong flip. An hour later, we're finding out through another On3 guy that no, he's actually he's flipping to Oregon.
This is how these things go on signing day. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of calls behind the scenes. There's a lot of there's just a lot of things happening now on signing days, of course, with the financial piece to it as well. And I think a very concise way of putting it, Dan Lanning is the ultimate closer, right? Dan Lanning is that Mariano Rivera. You put him in the game, and he'll find a way to close the deal. That's I think where he cut his teeth as a recruiter when nobody else really wanted to do that, and clearly, and he hires people that are great, certainly at that, and he's made it something where he can go in at the last minute. And here's the other thing: he gets people to flip, but nobody flips from Oregon. Have you noticed that? You get very
rarely.
Few people.
They'll portal, but that's it.
Right, exactly. But on signing day, you will not get You will not get a lot of guys that decommit or whatever from Oregon, like USC. I hate to bring them up again, but USC, they've had a lot of decommitments, right? I know Julian Lewis, they upgraded at quarterback, so maybe Julian Lewis isn't the greatest example. But you've had those two 5-star D linemen out of Georgia. They decommitted and went back to the Bulldogs. They had a high 4-star wide receiver that decommitted as well, that they were very excited about out of the state of Utah. His name is escaping me right now, Jerome Miles, and then he decommitted. So they got Jakeem Stewart today, 5-star defensive lineman. So that's certainly great. And I think it all kind of turned out pretty good for USC, but they kind of had a roller coaster of a year.
If Lincoln Riley does end up somehow getting out of there, Jakeem Stewart's probably coming to Eugene.
I heard that. That's what I heard. Oregon was very, very up high in his recruitment. So, this is the thing, and Dan Lanning has said this in interviews. It's that there's no better time to finish second, right? And Oregon might have been in that situation with a guy like Jakeem Stewart. And even if maybe things don't work out, or USC has another down year, and he says, hey, this ain't it, and Oregon, keeps on doing their thing on the defensive line. He might enter the portal anyway.
That's your biggest statement right there that you talked about. Dan Lanning, not just a closer, he's very communication oriented.
Yep.
He keeps in touch with everyone.
Yep.
Just to be like, hey guy, how you doing over there?
He's the ultimate, he just knows how to build a roster in today's day and age. There's a lot of older coaches from an older previous generation that they struggle with it, right? Whether they don't want to, look at what Dabo did, has done with not taking portal guys. What's interesting about Clemson this year, I saw that they were below 30th. They were outside of the top 30 in recruiting. So for a guy that specializes in recruiting and builds his roster,
that's what we were saying to our Clemson guys in our spaces today. We're like, hey, you guys say you don't go in the portal, but man, for a guy who recruits high school kids, I don't see many high school kids committing to Clemson today.
It's different. There was a time there in the mid 2010s where they were a defensive line factory. They were just churning out guys, and they were getting guys to sign and commit. And those days they're not there anymore. But yeah, Dan's done a great job. And just building for the recruiting through portal. I mean, he grabbed the two best quarterbacks in the portal last year. And he got Dante Moore to be a backup. And
and this year, sorry, Cal, about that. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another thing. The quarterback situation for the Ducks going forward.
That's Big Dave money. Big Dave.
Exactly. Big Dave knows how to swing it out there on the islands. That's for sure. So, you got Achilles Smith Jr. Coming in, who's kind of a high 4-star prospect. And you got Jaron Kavawe Zagapolatelli. Yes. Been practicing that one all day.
I wasn't even going to try.
Kavawe Zagapolatelli. Oh man. I've said that probably 100 times today. I'm not even joking. So now I did it. I did it on here, and I'm going to nail it when I record. I'm going to record when I record my recruiting thing. I'm going to hit it there too as well. But yeah, he's a 5-star. I mean, when I kind of heard a couple of weeks ago that Oregon was in it, I'm like, dude, if you're the best quarterback in Hawaii history, and Oregon wants you, you're going.
You're going, yeah.
You're going. I mean, I love. Berkeley was on fire for College Game Day. We love you, Cal, but I'm just like, yeah, that ain't happening. But yeah, I watched it.
It shocked me because I'm like, you've got all these kids in your quarterback room already, and Dante. You brought Dante. You got him to flip back to you, and now all of a sudden you're going to go bring in 2 more kids. What's that say to Dante's confidence, though?
Well, I don't think it's anything about. I don't think it's really anything about Dante right now. I think at the most he's going to be there for 2 years. And I think it's going to allow one of these kids. I don't think Achilles Smith Jr. And Zagapolatelli, I don't think they're going to be there. I don't think both of them are going to be there in a couple of years. I think one of them. I think the competition is going to be there. One of them is going to look better in the spring, and once you go through the fall, and one of them is going to be in that situation where they're the back. Remember Austin Novosad as well as on this roster. He looked pretty good in the spring, right?
Yeah.
Remember and he's kind of when in some of these garbage time situations, he's gotten the nod over Dante some weeks as well. So you got to take that into consideration. He's nothing to, just push over at. So there's going to be a lot of competition in this quarterback room, but eventually somebody's going to stand out, and eventually one or two other guys are going to transfer. Like Ohio State has the same problem. They signed Tavian St. Clair today, and they got Julian Sayin in the room. They got Aaron Nolan in the room. They got a bunch of guys in the room that can start in a lot of programs across the country, and a lot of those guys are going to want to start right now. So this is kind of the beauty about today's day and age of college football, right? You used to be able to just over-recruit, put a bunch of guys on a roster, and then kind of keep them there. Now, hey, you get a 5-star quarterback and they go to Ohio State or Oregon where the room is loaded, and it's just like, it's just I'm just not the top quarterback. I can be a top 15 quarterback in the country, and then I can transfer to wherever, and then that's when schools can start really put the resources to grab one of these really good players. So yeah, I think I like that part of the transfer portal where it allows kind of the balance across college football to kind of exist.
And you make a great point too. Yeah, the quarterback room too is so loaded. I'd be honestly surprised if this next year that we don't have a transfer, whether Novosad or Moga, even potentially with the incoming, just the depth potential.
And like TW says, Jared Curtis is in line for Eugene next year as a 26 quarterback.
The 26 class for Oregon is looking pretty spicy right now. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's a bunch of, like what Dan Lane likes, this competition.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to stay, but that's it. You've had Novosad and more kind of going back and forth, and what our speculation is that way both of them keep their red shirts. So that's why they've been alternating.
So Dante Moore will keep his red shirt. Dante Moore
keeping that red shirt.
4 games.
Smart gamemanship kind of by the coaching staff.
Exactly, and I think that's probably why they did it. Now that you bring that up, so Dante Moore will be a redshirt sophomore next season, so he technically could play 3 years. I think he's too talented to play 3 years. Personally, I think it's going to be 2. That's what my feeling is. Because remember, I mean, he backed up this year. I guess anything could happen. He could have just a ridiculous year next year and go to the NFL. I'm not sure if I see him playing at that type of level next year. I think the year after is when he's really going to hit his stride.
Yeah, he
certainly as a quarterback.
Peaks potentially.
Remember, he's got to de-UCLA himself a little bit, and that's what this year was all about, right? So
yes, de-Chip Kelly himself.
De-Chip himself. Yeah,
he did pretty well last week in that drive he had in Washington.
Yeah, I thought so too. That was kind of the most we've really seen out of Dante
all year. Yeah,
so we know he's a great core. We know he's a great talent. And I think this was like the best situation that could have happened, because at UCLA, it's just he just was not coached very well, plain and simple. Over there with Chip at the Bruins, and of course that would have been a bad situation if he would have stayed there. And then if he would have transferred to somewhere else where he would have started right away, there's a chance he could have taken those old bad habits and taken them along with him, and then it could have maybe just kept on going in the wrong direction. So I'm glad that he was able to come back to the school where he originally committed to when Kenny Dillingham was the offensive coordinator. And then now he's able to develop now with Will Stein. And we'll see if Will Stein is the coordinator next year. I mean, there could be a lot of head coaching jobs, and people could do a lot worse than Will Stein. Let me put it that way. So, so we'll see. But he's going to be in a great situation. Dante is next year with the talent around him, and then learning the offense for a year. I think it certainly worked out for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. And Dan Lanning did a great job bringing in like Will Stein after Dillingham to just kind of keep the same style of offense around. Like don't fix what's not broken, basically. As even Stein said. How much more time you got, Ted? Because I know you got.
I can do like 5 more minutes. All
right, cool. I don't want to leave this behind then real quickly. Marty Marr. Phil Knight has just Venmoed you $500,000.
Still hasn't come through yet.
I know. I'm waiting too.
Still looking
Still
for it.
waiting.
Come on, Uncle Phil.
Still
You
looking
can
for
spare. You can spare more than that too. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Marty Mar, thank you for the super chat though. I didn't want you to think I forgot it. I see it. But yeah, so you don't need to be put on the spot for this either. But in Spaz's favorite segment of the night, score predictions. I don't need to put you on the spot, but me and Spaz are tied 6-6 on the season.
So I got my score prediction coming out on Thursday.
All right, you don't have. That's
all
why
right.
you don't have to spoil your score prediction. You don't have to.
I'll tell you. Here's what I will tell you. How about this? I'll tell you the winner and I'll tell you the point margin. That's what I will tell you.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll do that. Then I'll kind of tease. People can watch my preview coming up tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So I've got Oregon winning the game, and I've got Oregon win by 14. That's what I will say. I think that this one could be a little bit tight, maybe a little bit more of a defensive game early, and then I just find it, as good as Penn State's defense is, I just think it's going to be tough to keep that offense in a bottle for Oregon for that long. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I see it. So I picked Oregon to win the Big Ten title at the beginning of the year. Certainly couldn't go against them now the way they're playing. So I think they're gonna lock up that number 1 seed, and then we'll see what happens in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day.
It's fair. Spaz, did I go first last week or did you? Hold on.
I don't know.
I wrote it. I have it's in a text message, you idiot.
I
I went first last week, so you go first this week.
37-14 Oregon.
I don't have a pen on me still, so 37-14. Okay. I'm so unprepared. It's bad. I do think this is going to be a good game. Penn State's going to bring a defensive challenge that Oregon's not super familiar with. It's going to be close to like Michigan. I think a little bit more.
Okay.
But that's it. With Penn State still hasn't seen an offense quite like Oregon's. Ohio State's is the closest, and they still couldn't stop Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite bullish on 14 points. It's more than the spread. I'll do like 31-24 Oregon.
Interesting. You got Penn State scoring. That's the thing. Like Penn State scoring. I thought about that. There's a score prediction in the comments from, let's see, Captain Hiltz. That's very close to mine. I'll just say
38-20. Yeah.
Very close to what I have. I've seen what Penn State has done against really good defenses, and they just don't score. Like they had a pick 6 and 2 field goals earlier this year against Ohio State, and I think Oregon's defense is better right now. You look at the last two. You look at last year in those 2 games against Michigan and Ohio State. They don't score above 20 on good defenses, plain and simple. And I think Oregon is certainly that.
I think some of that's kind of like Washington last week. Kind of at the end, Oregon just kind of lets up. It's like, this is in the bag. Now
my halftime score is 20-14 Oregon, and then in the second half they just turn it on.
Sure, I could see that. I
think it's a close game for a half, and then Oregon gets a turnover, or let's say they get the deferment and they get the ball in the second half, and they go down and score. Now they're up 2 scores. And Penn State starts to hit the panic, and another turnover happens, and basically the game is over at that point.
So James Franklin's himself.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's
he's second half's a Penn State all over again.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because the fact that it's so new for Oregon, and then it's still new for Penn State because none of these kids on this team were alive for that Rose Bowl in '95. So it's not there. And I think that's kind of Is that maybe a thing? Just real quickly, Ted. Is that maybe a thing with Oregon's success this year to a degree because it's so new that no one's used to playing Oregon? It's
In the
just
Big Ten, are you
new?
talking about?
Yeah. They just don't know what to expect to a degree.
I think
somewhat.
Oregon would be successful in the SEC. I think they'd be successful in the Big 12. I think they'd be in success. I think they'd be successful in just about any conference. And I think that's the way Dan Lanning is building this team. I remember when he was asked, hey, what do you think about joining the Big Ten and taking on these teams? He's like, hey, we it doesn't matter what conference we're playing in, right? They're building their team to be successful at a national level. But I will say this about the Big Ten opponents is they have not seen an offense as talented and explosive as Oregon since like Ohio State when CJ Stroud was around, which was 2022.
Yeah.
21 to 20, 21 to 23-ish.
Yeah. So that's, that Ohio State offense, other than Ohio State, historically, let's just say the 14-team era for the Big Ten, which started in 2014. That's been like the only really nationally explosive offense. Penn State had some with McSorley and when Saquon Barkley was there, and it was good. It was good, but consistently, Ohio State is what people have seen, and like a lot of, especially teams from the Big Ten West, like the Wisconsins of the world, which they played Illinois this season. Oregon did. It's just they don't see that type of speed. They don't see that type of that talent on a weekly basis, and that's going to take time to adjust, right, over time. And then if Oregon keeps on recruiting, right, at this type of level, it's going to be really tough to catch up. So, I just think Oregon certainly has a style of play that have made it tough on maybe some of these Big Ten teams that aren't in that top tier. The team speed is just very different from what we've seen historically outside of Ohio State in the Big Ten.
I think it's fair.
Thank you very much, Ted.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Always fun to talk to you guys, and I'm looking forward to a great game, and I'm looking forward to Oregon being in the Rose Bowl with a win. Obviously, if they can get to that point, so it should be a good time. Oregon dominated on signing day, but I appreciate you guys for having me on and let me talk some Duck football. Always love talking some Duck football.
Oh, we appreciate
Georgia
you.
Or Texas, who you got?
Georgia or Texas? That's interesting. I'm not sold on. I know Georgia's been playing better and Carson Beck's been playing better. Close game. I'll go Texas, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I guess Texas. That Georgia defense is good though.
I don't know. 41 against Georgia, giving 41 points or whatever to Georgia.
That's
Tech.
True. That was a bunch of overtime. I don't know what they scored.
I know. But it's Carson Beck going to throw 3 picks again too. I know it's a toss up. I've struggled with that game.
Did I pick Texas? Can I change it? It's in Atlanta, so maybe I'll go Georgia. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go. Wait, what did I pick? I picked Tech. What did I pick? I don't even can't remember what I picked.
Texas. You picked Texas.
So I picked Texas. Okay, I'll stick with Texas. I'll stick with the Horns. How about that?
It's going to be a good game because it's hard to beat a team twice in the same season.
It is. That is tough. I'm not sold on Georgia. I don't know. Can they make a run? They can make a run, but man, they've played with their food a few times. Remember that Kentucky game that was close?
Yeah,
Kentucky close. Of course, Georgia Tech. I feel like there were some other games in there.
They lost to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
they got destroyed by Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Who lost to Kentucky?
Yeah, I know. That's the SEC this year. They're the deepest conference out there. So
it's yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
Yes, thanks, Ted.
We appreciate you,
safe
Ted.
Drive to the airport.
All right. Thank you.
Have fun. Thank you very much again.
All right. Thank you.
And everyone, please do follow Big Ten Ted at Big Ten Ted right there on the banner on YouTube and on X or Twitter, depending on however you want to say it. And then Spaz walks away and Okay. All right. Spaz has left the building, everyone. Spaz has left the building. But yeah, make sure to follow Big Ten Ted on YouTube and X. Please do it. He is one of the most insightful guys. Trust me. His knowledge, me and Spaz combined, he blows us out of the water easily. Not questionable. Yeah. So, what did you guys think of? We're gonna get into this. We talked about the game a little bit. Kind of got sidetracked there for a little. Kind of got sidetracked for a little bit, but I was just telling the chat we got sidetracked there on the discussion for a little bit. What did we think of? Really quickly, like 10 minutes. What did we think of signing day? Early signing day today? Because
it was incredible. It was just unbelievably incredible. I was watching meltdowns. Oh, and I got a meltdown update for you, Ben, especially for you because you know this gentleman very well. I believe I've talked him off the ledge, but he sounds about as on the ledge of walking away from college football that I've ever seen. Can you guess who I'm talking about?
Tim?
No.
Ah.
His team wasn't number 4 at one point in the college football playoffs.
Oh, Mark?
No.
What
Slim Shady Canes.
Oh, well, Miami's garbage. Who cares?
Slim messaged me finally today after not hearing or seeing him for 2 days. 2 days. And he's like, well, if this is just the way it's going to be, then why bother?
Because you're an afterthought and you're not a blue blood anymore and you're trash. You have not won the ACC in 22 or 3 years of being there. The ACC, and you have not won it.
And all year you were saying how the ACC was the better conference. They were better than the Big Ten. They were better than the SEC. And you just crashed out Mario Cristobal style. We told you, Miami Hurricane fans, and they are crashing out hard.
Yeah. We told them this is not just us trolling them. We literally just said, this is what happens.
Mario will do this, and this, but in the end, he will do this, and this.
Yeah, and that's what they have exactly seen, so they get what they deserve. Yeah, the signing day, of course, Achilles Smith Jr., of course, legacy, not shocking, 4-star. I'm not going to butcher his name, so JKS.
The Hawaiian kid.
Yeah, JKS. 4-star or 5-star, depending on where you look. Flip from Cal. Beautiful. We also got a flip from Oregon State. I don't know why they brought another 3-star from Oregon State. Flip.
Well, actually, he's more of a baseball flip, but he does play football as well.
Okay, well, that's fine. He's a 3-star flip from Oregon State, though. Still got more depth. DR Hill, of course, 4-star from Illinois running back. Jordan Davison, 4-star running back from Santa Ana, California. Oh, the big one. Let's give it. This class has never seen this before. No class in Oregon history has ever seen it. 5-star Decorian Moore and 5-star Dallas Wilson, wide receivers.
Number 1, number 2, and number 22.
I believe number 1 and number 3 wide receiver in the classes overall, depending on where you look. But yeah, 2 5-star wide receivers literally in the top 5. That's unheard of.
3 of the top 25 receivers in the country.
Yes, because then you have 4-star Cooper Perry. Of course, they got the transfer the flip from Washington, Vanderploeg. Well, it wasn't really a flip because he actually committed a little earlier back to Oregon, but or whatever. The only miss we missed was the tight end from Kansas State. He stayed at Kansas State. Fair enough to him.
He had to be close to mommy's nipples.
Hey, he was an original commit to Kansas State. I mean, he wanted to stay close to home. Hey, that's what happens. But he said apparently he had an Oregon commitment statement ready to go. Just last second, he was kind of like, I'm going to stay here.
The only 4 or 5-star recruit that Kansas State has in this cycle so far.
Well, it's very Kansas State-ish to get a 5-star tight end. That's very Kansas State. Hey, you do what you do. Several 4-star, obviously, interior linemen, offensive tackles. Of course, still locked down Trey McNutt, 5-star safety out of Ohio.
And another Knicks family member flipped from Miami.
That is right. I'm going down the list, so I haven't gotten there yet, bitch. 5-star Noeem Offord, flipped from Ohio State for the cornerback position. You have 4-star Brandon Finney out of Maryland. 4-star cornerback Brew out of Texas. Of course, Nasir Wyatt, 4-star linebacker. 4-star D lineman Johnson. 4-star Hastrup, edge. And then, yes, exactly, 4-star flip Gavin Nix from Miami. Suck it, Chris the ball. Suck on my balls, bitch. Oh God. Mark's going to have a field day with that one.
Oh, there's another jar.
Oh, God. And then they got a kicker. Graziano. 3-star out of Eugene. So a hometown kid.
Who is also a legacy.
Graziano.
Whose father played quarterback at Oregon.
Oh, God.
Tony Graziano. That's his kid.
Oh, shit. Is it?
Yes, sir.
I should fucking recognize the name. Maybe it's just his name is Rocco. It's throwing me off. It's like Rocco Graziano.
Yep, that is Tony's kid.
Oh shit! All right, and this is just the early. This is not all the signees. This is just the early. No. The only one we don't have for sure. Not for sure. Rather, I should say, I have to correct myself here. Is who didn't sign today? Was it not Wyatt? Was it someone didn't actually sign, but they said, no, I'm going to Oregon. They didn't actually sign today. I'm trying to remember who it was.
I know there's some that aren't signing till Friday.
Well,
but
yeah,
I don't think that's for us. I think
today one person did not sign, but I think it could have probably was just like a paperwork issue because again they don't do the letter of intent anymore or whatever national letter of intent. They do financial agreements now, whatever. So it probably was like a paperwork issue.
It's got to be a faxed, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably just a paperwork
signed
issue.
and faxed. However, Naheem Oford, I watched him sign his paperwork today.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it was him.
No, because everybody in his class at his high school, they all signed their letters or financial statements or whatever right then and there once they all said where they were going.
Yeah, there was someone that didn't sign today, but again, it was probably just literally a paperwork issue. But he still was like fully on like, no, this is where I'm going type of thing. So it's hard to say. But yeah, this is just the early one. And there's a lot more good things to come.
We haven't even hit the portal yet.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, he hasn't even charged.
And we're number 2 in almost all. There's a couple of sites that have Oregon as the top class. And it's the tight end that is committed. This is what they said tonight. The tight end that is right now committed to Michigan is not signing till Friday. Oregon has been making a huge late second push for him. And some sites have him flipping to Oregon. Some sites have him staying at Michigan. The winner, whoever, if Oregon gets him, it will give Oregon the number 1 class. Nobody can touch that. If he goes to Michigan and Texas gets, or not Texas, but Georgia gets this other kid, Terry or whatever, then that would give Georgia the number 1 class. That's how tight it is.
And even then, yeah, I was like, you're just splitting some hairs there on like composite rankings and stuff like that.
Right.
Of like 4 or 5 star. I mean, Olish.
Olish, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, Oregon could use another tight end for sure. That's why they press for the K-State kid so hard. But again, you still have Sadiq. Obviously, you're losing Ferguson this year. You're losing Herbert. You still have Sadiq. They have a redshirt freshman. They have a sophomore. Then they're going to bring in this kid. But yeah, tight end is it is a getting to be a little bit of more of a like, yeah, we could actually use another tight end.
Yeah, we have the number 1 player average, and I believe it was 92.39, highest in Oregon history. We've got 4, 5, if some count the kid out of Hawaii, would give us 5 stars in one single recruiting.
Didn't I say we're losing Ferg? Pretty sure I said we're losing Ferg.
Yeah.
I was like, pretty sure I said that. I was like, I know I said Herbert. I was like, pretty sure I said losing Ferg. But I mean, that's it. They got 2 5-star corners. 2 5-star corners. That's ridiculous. But yeah, tight end is a need. Oh my God. Spaz, do you have any other comments tonight though? Because obviously this is an early signing day look. We have to wait quite a bit.
For what?
I'm asking you if you're done.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, sweet.
Hey, I am not in Corvallis. How dare you?
Shut up. That was my final comment of the night. That was our closer. Way to ruin it, bitch.
Yeah.
All right, well, everyone, it's gonna be fun. As mentioned, Oregon just I won't say completely strolls. Wisconsin was a bitch.
So it's 5, which would be 7. So 6 would be 4. Should we do? I should be back by then. 5:30 or 6 for a pregame on Saturday. Since it starts at 7 your time.
Hold on, bitch. I just fucking closed this tabs, you asshole. Let's do 40, like an hour beforehand.
So we'll do 6 o'clock Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Pregame show, Big Ten Championship.
It's like, let's do an hour more. We're very prepared for this tonight. I closed the tabs. I was like, yeah, we're done. Okay, cool. Yes. So do make sure to come in, join us for the pregame of the championship game for the Big Ten.
Subscribe, hit that like button, tell all your friends about us, and make sure you hit that notification button, and that way you know every time we're going live. Once the season's over, we'll be going back to Sleepville because it'll get very boring very fast around here.
It will for
so enjoy the next month.
Yeah, it will for a little while. That is for sure. But yeah, that's it. Make sure to join us on that pregame. Set the notifications. We will be coming to you there, and then the post game immediately following. No matter what happens, win or lose, we will be here for you guys to celebrate and or cry, however you want to look at it. And otherwise, then you can then also make sure to, regardless of the outcome, join us next Wednesday. Same time, same place, 9:35 p.m. Central, 7:35 p.m. Pacific for the Oregon Ducks live show right here on the Oregon Channel, the voice of college football. Spaz, you have finals? Any final thought?
No, let's just go win this game, man. Let's go kick this dynasty into full motion. This team's ready. This team's prepared, and they just know how to win. Did you catch the that team out west video yesterday?
You mean the Ducks versus them?
Yes, that one.
Yes, I did.
How about that smashing of the helmet at halftime?
The Washington meltdown was like, why do they have a helmet at Washington? What are they doing? I'm like, smashing it in, obviously. Just like what they did to you. Yeah.
Bet you're carrying the bat out of the tunnel.
It made more sense.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I can't wait for the Ducks versus them if we win the Big Ten title. Okay, I can't get too excited right now. I'm gonna have a heart attack. All right, everyone. Jeez, you got control yourself, old man. Jesus
what?
Christ. What? All right, everyone. See you pregame and postgame and next week, Wednesday. Quack.